Do you ever wonder how great leaders in the community make things happen? When they encounter new, unexpected challenges like a pandemic, how do they continue to successfully make an impact? Welcome to That Sounds Terrific, the podcast that connects you with these amazing people. Get insights on what they do to meet their goals, find out how you can help them in their mission, and learn their methods so you can be more successful at what you do. Welcome to That Sounds Terrific with host Nick Koziol.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That Sounds Terrific. Joining to me today, I have two people from 585 Magazine, Jane Milliman and Christine Green. How are you both today?
Very well.
Good.
Awesome.
Friday.
Well, it is what?
Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. We're recording on a Friday, which is a great day to record, right?
Right.
The weekend is just ahead of us, and hopefully we're going to do some fun things. I've got a hockey tournament, so that's what I'll be doing all weekend. But
you're an observer or you are participating in the hockey tournament?
Coaching.
Is it a dad job?
Yeah,
Like
kind of.
Team? Okay.
Kind of. I mean, I've got two boys that are playing, and it's just a great opportunity to spend a little bit more time with them. And we've got a good team, got a good group of coaches that work really hard together. And totally another podcast episode, though, I think, though, right? So I wanted to talk about 585 Magazine, and I wanted to just both.
We're interested in people's stories, right?
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to talk about stories too, and let's bring some of those up. But let's hear a little bit about both of you. Jane, why don't you start, since we have got three people on the show? We'll try to start with you. But
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I started Upstate Gardeners Journal in 1995. So that was my first publication. So we're going on almost 30 years now, which is insane if you think about it. So I did, and I had the gardening magazine for years and years. And then in 2015, and I was also the garden columnist for the Democrat and Chronicle from 1996. I did that for 19 years. So then I took the job at 585 as editor-in-chief, and my boss, Larry, who's now sadly gone, said I had to quit the DNC. So I gave up my column for this job. And then a few years later, I bought the magazine. And then the following year, same month, actually, same day, I bought, same day next year, I bought the Genesee Valley Parent magazine, which then had turned to Roc Parent. It had been rebranded, and we rebranded that 585 Kids. So those are the three titles. And then we do, we also produce the bulletin of the American Iris Society. So if you want to know anything about irises, anything at all about irises, you ask.
Go to Jane.
Ask one of us.
Ask how my irises at home are.
How are your irises?
I read a lot about irises, but I don't actually do very well with iris. I mean, they're fine. Yeah, I just don't do all the things I'm supposed to do.
Well, you guys have some orchids in the background, and I know they can be very challenging.
Lots of orchids.
You got Master Gardener here.
So it's funny, actually, people in this building will throw away orchids.
It's weird.
It's very weird. And so I rescue them. And we have 6 here. And how many in your office?
There's like 4 in my office.
And they're mostly, some have been gifts, but they're mostly
trash
dumpster orchids, we call them.
And a dumpster cactus.
Cactus. Yeah. And sometimes people even just put the orchid on the steps going up to our office because they know. They can see all the orchids in the windows.
So
we rehabilitate them.
Yeah. So 585 Magazine, also a sanctuary for orchids. We'll have to notes,
bring us your orchids.
Yes, bring us your orchids.
They do well in this office. They do
very well.
Well, I think they're very challenging, and like as soon as the flowers sort of die off, people think that they're all dying off, and that's the end. So,
exactly.
Not true.
Yeah. Well,
not only that, but people always want to cut back the stems, But if you cut back the stems, then they have to start growing all over again. If you leave the stems, usually after a period of rest, they'll produce more flowers on the same.
That's a good Jane
Stock.
tip. Definitely.
Awesome. Wow, we've got like multiple episodes going on here, so we could go in so many different directions.
Oh, yeah.
But Christine, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself too?
All right. I had a little more crazy route to this job. So I originally was an archaeologist before I had my kids, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. Then I did some housekeeping, and I was a personal assistant. I did all kinds of little random pickup jobs. And then I started freelancing, mostly about books. I had a column at the DNC about local authors and books. And then that got cut because, as the arts does, and I came over to Jane and said, "Hey, Jane." So I started writing that for 585. And when the last editor was moving on to a different position here about a little over 2 years ago now, I just threw my hat in the ring. And so as managing editor, and so Jane hired me, and now I work on all the same magazines with Jane, and here I am.
Well, very cool. It's great to have you both here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about, 585 magazine in general and what it is, and what you've developed it as, because I'm sure it came from, I think you had mentioned when we were talking at first, it came from maybe the Buffalo Spree.
Yeah, Buffalo Spree started 585 magazine. Buffalo Spree owns you can't call them playbills, but they're program guides for Jiva and RPO and RBTL, whatever. And so they already had a salesperson on the ground. She still works for us, actually. So they started this magazine. And it's really, it's kind of like your podcast. It's just, we highlight, all the cool stuff that's happening, good things, restaurants, people, art, lots of art, music, dance, just anything that we find interesting
in the 585 area code.
Yeah. So that's
slightly beyond.
Yeah. Well, we push the edges, but we do travel stuff, and that's always kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then, of course, kids is for kids and parents. It's for both, actually. Not everybody knows that, but parents should pick it up and read it and give it to their kids, because we have all kinds of kids content
in there.
and stuff for parents. Again, same thing. People doing cool things. We have coloring. We have stuff from the zoo. It's, obviously
stuff from the zoo.
Articles about the zoo, and other great places for families in the area. Obviously, we can go on and on about our magazines.
Yeah, well, that's part of what you're supposed to be doing here. So that's awesome. I have a cool little Seneca Zoo story, just anecdote that I'll throw in there. We did the Day of Caring for Medaille University, now defunct college, but so one of the things we had to do was go into the lion enclosure and weed and clean it out, right? And so the lions were obviously not in there. We actually got a nice behind the scenes tour of like how the lions go in and out, and there's locking mechanisms and all this stuff. But me being the super sarcastic, think I'm funny kind of guy, I was cleaning and the zoo is open and there's people walking by and this kid's walking by, and I go right up to the cage and I go, "Hey, are there any lions in here? I don't know how I got in here." Kid is mortified.
That's pretty awesome,
actually.
So
so anyways, yeah, I in hindsight, probably not the funniest or best thing to do. Scare a poor little kid, and he probably ran off to tell some mom or zookeeper or something.
He's got a great story.
Yeah,
exactly. The guy, yeah. So, but that's great. I love, that your magazine highlights all these things to do. Obviously, you probably have come up with your own stories that, or like your favorites or anything. So could you share maybe one of your favorite stories or something fun that happened while, reporting at 585 and I'm putting them on the spot.
All right. I have a fun thing. So my boyfriend and I were flying to Italy, I think. And we had been on like a true crime binge.
Mhm.
And so he ordered a bunch of paperbacks, like just true crime paperbacks, just randomly from Amazon, and we took them on the plane because you can just leave them or whatever, right? They're cheap.
Yeah.
And so we started reading these books, and I got this one book was called Killer Twins, and it was
a good one
by this guy, Michael Benson. And I was like kind of fascinated. I Googled him later and looked him up, and it turned out he's from Rochester. He lives in
the
Brooklyn.
book is about
the book takes place in
Rochester.
Rochester, right? That's why and George didn't know that when he ordered them. He just
Yeah.
ordered these random books. So I was like, oh, wait, takes place in Rochester. And I got to look this guy up. So I looked him up, and he's a writer. And the next time he came to Rochester, we went to dinner, the three of us, and
cool.
we got along great. And ever since then, he contributes stories like probably twice a year.
Yeah.
He does. So he contributes true crime stories, which are my favorites. And then he also does history. Like he did one about the Red Wings, I think.
Yeah.
He's
and about
done
the old theaters.
That was a
good one.
Music. So he does history stuff, but and the true crime stuff. But I just like the idea that you can be reading a book, think it's interesting, Google the author, email him, and then meet up, and then you have a new writer in your freelance stable is like, that's what I love most about the magazine is whatever you imagine you want to do, you can just do it, which is awesome.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is, before I had ever met Jane, the day you met Mike Benson was the same day I met Mike Benson.
But we didn't know
each other, and we didn't know that was happening because I was writing about him for the DNC, and so he met me at a murder scene for real, and I made my husband go because I'd never met this guy. I was like, well, what if he kills me at this murder scene?
Yeah, that would
And
be
then he mentioned later that he was meeting this woman from 585 magazine. So anyway, and now we're all like buddies, and
right.
So my favorite story, well, I have a lot of favorite stories, but personally, I got to interview Carlos Santana. I will never get off of it.
It was in her email footer for like months.
Yes, because it's Carlos Santana. So my interns are like, who's Carlos
that?
Santana? And I was like, ugh. But he came to CMAC over the summer, and his team was looking for some local press. And so the team at CMAC reached out and says, they asked if we knew anyone. And I thought of you guys. And I was like, yes.
Like to do that.
And he called me. I called him. They said, he wants to talk to you directly. Here's his number. And he answered his own phone. He was like, yeah, it's Carlos. And he was super chill, and he was talking to me about Hawaii, and that was probably the coolest. It was the coolest.
And then she said, my mom says hi. My mom says hi.
Awesome.
And he said, well, that's so wonderful. I make music for all ages. And then I told my mom that. She's like, we're the same age. I always thought like my mom was like ancient or something. Anyway, it was full. It was like, so we just get to meet such cool people.
Yeah, that's awesome, and such a great story, and it's great to be able to meet people that you admire and be able to talk to them. It's unreal, and I'm glad you had a great experience because not on this show, but I've met some people and they sort of fall short of what you think they're going to be sometimes, and that's got to be tough. So part of me doesn't want to meet some of my like sort of childhood heroes because I'm like, what? I don't want to ruin it.
Jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
But most people aren't jerks.
Yeah, that's true.
Most people are pretty nice.
Hopefully.
In general.
Hopefully. Yeah. So 585. Like what are I know you're featured a lot of different things, but like what are your like, and it's in the 585 area, but like what is the stuff that you really like to concentrate on when you're looking for, a scoop or a good story? What are you looking for?
Well, I mean, I can take this, I guess.
Go ahead.
So we look for a couple of things. One of the things, it doesn't have to, but each magazine, each issue usually has a theme. And sometimes they're general, like home, right? A home and garden. And there's a lot that covers that. And other ones are more focused. Like last January, we did a weddings issue. So we like to see what are the different angles somebody can come up with to talk about, say, weddings in this area, rather than just your run of the mill. This is, how you buy a wedding dress. What's different? I like to see people who not just say, I want to profile this store owner. I like to know, like, I want to profile the store owner because of A, B, C, and D, and this is how they contribute to the 585. Like what the people, the places that we focus on, or the organizations, really have to kind of stand out as people and organizations that do something different and unique in our area. I don't know if I'm making sense there.
Yeah, totally.
Well, like for instance, I got a pitch one time that was a repeated pitch over and over about to do this profile of this woman. So, and the pitch was, she's a doctor and she has raised 4 children. I'm like, how? Lots of people are doctors and have raised 4 children.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, and she's a woman. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Well,
you get a lot. We get a lot of that.
Yeah. I'm not a doctor yet.
Sorry about me.
Not a doctor yet. I have 4 kids, so I'm kind of getting there, but I am earning my ADD. So let's have a story about Nick. No.
Yeah. Well, you
Nick
make a good story. You make a great story. We should do a story.
I know, because you're doing something different and unique in the community, but beyond that, it's reaching outside of 585, right? So that's the kind of thing. It's different. It's new. Yeah. And new doesn't mean young necessarily at all. It could mean all kinds of different things.
So I'm saying I'm old.
No,
no, it's okay.
That's exactly what she said.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You're old. You're old.
Well, the other thing is we can never be first to report anything, because we've got the DNC, we've got city, the competition. We can never be first. So we have to be the most interesting.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, and I think that's better in a lot of ways.
Right.
I think, we're actually in a culture, I was talking about this the other day, where being first seems to be more important than being right, or
Correct.
even close to the truth.
Yeah.
So I would rather hear about it later and hear about all of the facts, or, have people who research things in order to fully understand the story as a whole, rather than, wow, you were the first one to tell me that this happened incorrectly.
The visual aspect of a story is really important to us too. Like we have photographers, freelance and staff photographers who do a wonderful job. I mean, I think for me, it's really important that the magazine, all of our magazines themselves, are a piece of material culture. And there are people that save them and share them and look at them at different places. And that is really important to us too, is that we create this beautiful actual thing that people will open up and keep print alive.
Yeah, no, I think print is important. I mean, you graciously gave me a subscription to 585 so I could check it out, and I got my first one. I think it was like almost 2 weeks ago at this point. And it's great. It is beautiful. And there's also that digital access too, which is important. So, and everything in this day and age seems to have some sort of balance, but I'm in that age, like that group where I grew up with the emerging technology. And so I'm always somewhere in between. Like, I like having the physical thing to read. But I also like to take, my notes in my electronic calendar and things like that. So, it's interesting, where I'm at personally, but I love that your magazine provides both of those experiences.
Yeah, we're just redoing our website right now, actually. It's going to be totally renovated.
Yeah.
And then we'll have all the publications under one
website
umbrella instead of
all
these
over
different properties all over the place.
Yeah.
So that's happening very soon. We just went over the edits this morning with the developers.
Very cool. Very cool. So what are some of the things for the future for the magazine? What are your aspirations? Do you have some things on the horizon that you're looking forward to?
Yep. We are in the process of developing a new publication, which will be 585 Pets.
Oh, cool.
Exciting.
I'm so excited.
Christine is very excited about this.
I've been pushing this idea for like a year now.
She has. So that's for that, and the website are the two big things that we're looking at going into 24, I would say.
And
Awesome.
collaborate, I'd say, with places like Visit Rochester.
Right. We collaborated with Visit Rochester for a local guide when the PGA was in town. And we're going to another local guide for the eclipse, which is the huge topic.
Yeah.
Everybody's...
Yeah, the sun's going to disappear for a couple minutes. It's going to be humongous.
Yeah.
Don't look right at it.
How many people are supposed to come to Rochester for this?
I knew this number. It was an astonishing amount.
Yeah.
Like they just said already, the New York State Park opened 7 parks early so people could travel. And all of the parks campsites are completely booked, all 7 of them already for the eclipse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
that is awesome.
So we have every issue, we have issue launch parties, happy hours, and they're really, really super fun. Our last one was just at Jolie, which is a new event space down at Easton Alexander. For the eclipse issue, we're having our release party. This is very brand new news.
Yeah.
It's going to be at the planetarium.
So
Very
exciting.
cool. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
This is accurate information.
It is
That's
accurate.
great.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, that'll be great. What an
it should be
awesome
really
place to have a launch release party.
Mhm.
I love that you do that. That's so cool.
It's fun. It's very fun. I can't take credit for it. They started before I took this job. So I would actually probably credit Leah Stacy for it. I
Yeah.
think she started. Now she's the editor at City.
Okay. Yeah, you probably get a bunch of new ideas from those launch parties too, right? You probably have people coming up to
are
you.
constantly pitching.
Yeah.
It's constant pitching.
My mom, she had 5 kids.
And
she's awesome.
a doctor?
And she goes to the doctor, and
the doctor, yeah.
she's got a pet too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good,
A
good.
pet. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that makes her
So
stand
there.
out. Yeah.
But
We've
that's
had this
really
one
cool.
woman who has been calling and leaving messages on on all of our voicemails about a story that she would like to see. And she's very frustrated that nobody's calling her back. But we don't take pitches on voicemail.
Yeah.
Really hard. It's really hard to do that.
Well, I will tell my mom to stop calling you guys about that story.
Is it you that she
It's
wants
me.
to throw out? Yeah.
Yeah, it's about me. But you already said you were going to do a story on me, so now I can just say,
we
hey,
are.
Yeah,
We
done.
totally
are.
can stop calling.
yeah, stop calling them. They're gonna ditch the story, and I won't get to go to a launch party. So very cool though. But so all right, so we talked a lot about like the different stories and things that you're looking for. Are there ways that like, my audience or other audiences, aside from pitching you an idea about their mom and their doctors and all that other stuff, is there ways that the audience can like help you at 585 magazine? Oh, that's a stumper.
Buy the magazine.
Yes.
Buy the magazine.
Buy a subscription. Tell your friends. Keep it on your coffee table so people can see it.
And the gardening journal and kids and pets are free. Well, I mean, pets isn't out yet, but those are
free titles.
You can just pick them up, and the best thing our audience can do, aside from subscribe, is to tell their friends, like share on social media the articles that they found really fun, or the photos that they thought were the coolest, or just sharing it and exposing more and more people to what we have to offer.
Right. I'm always surprised when I meet people and they don't know 585 magazine, but and yet they live in Rochester. I'm like, how do you not see it at your dentist office?
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes the suburbs have there are people on around Rochester that don't see it as often. So like, we definitely want to get those, you
Mhm.
know, like Western Hamlin and Hilton and even Fairport and stuff. We want our whole 585 to enjoy the magazine.
Yeah. Well, I think that the people that listen to this show and the people that are featured on this show, especially when they're Western New York area, there might be some good pitches there because they are trying to do different things.
Yeah.
So that truly, like, I have interviewed business owners and things like that to talk about what they do, because usually there's some unique angle to what they're doing, or they're involved in some sort of charity or nonprofit on the side that, highlights what they're doing. But I love the magazine because it does, like, let you know all the little different things that you can do in Rochester in the 585, and the people that are very interesting, or that are either from the area or coming to the area. There's so many awesome things. And I've pushed on the show a couple times. If you haven't been to Rochester or haven't been to the Western New York area, you definitely got to check it out. And 585 can definitely steer you in the right direction of some of the things that are really happening. They're unique.
Totally.
But I thank you both, so much for coming on the show. Tell us a little
Thanks
bit
for
about
having us.
Yeah, this
585.
is fun.
Yeah.
Thank
Very
you
fun.
very much.
So,
Thank you for joining us in another episode of That Sounds Terrific. Don't forget to check out the show notes and our website at thatsoundsterrific.com to find the contact information and the best ways to volunteer with the organizations that we feature. If you know someone that is doing terrific things and think they should be featured in a future episode, be sure to email us their name, contact info, and short description of what they're doing at thatsoundsterrific@gmail.com. If you like our show, give us a 5-star rating and give us some social media love by liking our Facebook page, That Sounds Terrific. Follow us on Twitter at Sounds Terrific 2 and Instagram at Sounds Terrific. We love hearing your feedback on how to make our show sound even more terrific. Till next time.